What if Obi Wan left the Jedi Order for Satine during the Clone War? During his time as a Padawan, Obi Wan and his master Qui-Gon were sent to Mandalore to protect the ruling family from usurpers, and during this time, Obi Wan fell in love with the young Duchess of Mandalore, Satine Kryze, and even considered leaving the Jedi Order for her. Let's start this story during the Clone War, when Obi Wan and Satine reunite for the first time. Obi Wan was very happy to see her after all these years, and the feelings of his past flooded back in. They spent a lot of quality time together, and Obi Wan's feelings for the Duchess skyrocketed. They were constantly flirting with each other, and both of them loved the time they spent together again. Obi Wan couldn't help but feel his old feelings coming back, which conflicted with the Jedi nature inside of him. After Obi Wan successfully protects her and saves her life, Satine tells Obi Wan that she regrets not taking their relationship forward back when they were younger, and Obi Wan admits that if she asked him to, he would have left the Jedi Order. Satine looks him right in the eye and asks Obi Wan if he still feels the same way. His eyes go wide and he stumbles on his words, and his heart skips a beat. He thinks on this. He's always wanted a family and loves Satine deeply, but he has responsibilities to the Jedi Order and Anakin. But he could do a lot of good here on Mandalore, and Anakin has already completed all of his training, so he doesn't need to worry about him. He tells Satine he feels the same way and wants to be with her, so decides to leave the Jedi Order. The council weren't happy with this, and Obi-Wan was the 21st Jedi Master to leave the Order. He tells Anakin about what he's doing, who supports him in this and is happy for his master. But this caused a lot of conflict in Anakin. Obi-Wan was his main tie to the Jedi Order and saw him as his brother, but he's just become married to Padme and is struggling to keep their relationship secret, so decides to follow in his master's footsteps. He convinces Padme of this, and she agrees with him that it's a good option, but she also decides to step down from the Senate and move back to Naboo with Anakin to their lake house to start their family. They cut off all communication to the outside world and live their lives together, free from any outside influence. Obi-Wan goes to Mandalore and becomes Satine's personal security guard. They started their family together, having their first baby a year after he moved there. Obi-Wan was happy with his decision and was certain of it when he laid eyes upon his son, and he finally has the family he's dreamed of. During Obi-Wan's time on Mandalore, Maul returned and tried to get revenge on Obi-Wan, attacking his family and conspiring against him. But during this time, Obi-Wan continued his training, learning many Mandalorian battle tactics, and attacked Maul back relentlessly. The Dathomirian got cocky and believed with their power they could overwhelm Obi-Wan alone, but they miscalculated, and Kenobi had the entirety of Mandalore on his side, which included their highly skilled military. Eventually, after weeks of attacks, in the final showdown, Obi-Wan ended up killing Darth Maul along with his brother Savage, and the pitiful Sith Lord would never get the revenge he desired. On the other side of the galaxy, Palpatine was mad that he's lost his prized possession Anakin Skywalker, who he's been manipulating over the past 10 years. He really wanted him by his side and the future of the Sith, and he viewed him as the only individual with the potential to surpass him. But this also opened up another opportunity. With Anakin not on Coruscant to potentially stop him, his chance of winning the Clone War went up significantly. He takes advantage of this. During the Clone War, Palpatine manipulated both sides of the war, controlling the Republic through the Senate and ordering Dooku, who ruled the Separatists. Together they manipulated events to increase the discontent in the galaxy, so that the people of the galaxy were fed up with the war. This also turned the people against the Jedi, who started to blame them for the war. They did this for 3 long years, until the time was right. Everything had gone according to Palpatine's plan, and he tells Dooku that the time has come. He carefully manipulated the various battles around the galaxy to pull key members of the Jedi Council off Coruscant, and orders Dooku and Grievous to come to Coruscant discreetly. And when they arrive, Palpatine executes Order 66. The Jedi didn't know what hit them, and they were totally decimated, and he alongside Dooku and Grievous led the purge of the Jedi Temple, and wiped out every Jedi inside. The Council was destroyed, with all members dying at the hands of the clones, except Yoda and Plo Koon. Obi-Wan and Anakin both felt it through the Force, and know something has just happened. On Mandalore, the clones currently on the planet attack Obi-Wan, and in this moment, he realizes what has happened. They've been ordered to attack and kill the Jedi. Because of this, Kenobi knows there's only one thing he can do. He fakes his death so that the clones believe he is dead, and has Satine host a funeral with her and their family there to convince Palpatine of his death. If he didn't, Mandalore would pay the price, and he would only put his family in danger. The location of Anakin on Naboo was unknown, so Palpatine didn't know where to send the clones, and thus Anakin survived. Quickly after the order, Obi-Wan contacted Yoda through Bail Organa, and the three met up. Obi-Wan explained to his wife that he had to leave them for now, that he has a duty in the Force, but also in the galaxy to defeat the Sith. If he didn't help, he couldn't live with himself. He discusses with Yoda, who's begun looking for survivors of Order 66, and they work together for the next couple of years to build some Jedi resistance. The galaxy is quickly exposed to the horrors of Palpatine's empire, which rapidly spreads its influence and seizes control over every corner of the galaxy. Organa has slowly started the rebel movement, allying key senators and high-profile individuals in the galaxy, and they've started fighting back with the help of the Jedi. They spend 5 more years doing this, trying to build up their forces and unite the rebel factions around the galaxy. Obi-Wan has gone back to visit his family every now and then, but he has to be extremely careful to not expose himself, as this would put his family in immense danger. The leaders of the rebel movement, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Organa, Mothma, and many more, are meeting to discuss the current war effort. Organa reveals they haven't been making a lot of progress recently, and the Empire has only doubled their efforts to stop them. Obi-Wan sighs. He's been thinking about this for a while, but decides to bring this up with the leaders. He tells them it might be time to seek out Anakin Skywalker. A lot of them look at him confused, but Yoda's head snaps towards him. He tells them that Anakin was considered the chosen one, prophesied to defeat the Sith, and maybe this is still the case. They don't know what he's been doing for all these years. Maybe he's grown in power significantly and could help them defeat Emperor Palpatine. The leaders like the sound of this and ask where he is, and Obi-Wan tells them that he knows, but he's the only one and will go alone to seek him out. Obi-Wan leaves and immediately travels to a secluded hillside on Naboo, where Anakin told him years ago where he was going to live. He sees his house in the distance, and a tall figure walks out to watch his ship descend. No doubt, Anakin Skywalker. He lands and walks towards his old friend, who he hasn't seen in over 10 years. They hug, and Anakin invites him in. He greets Padme, and they introduce him to their children. The twins, 13 years old, an 11-year-old girl, and an 8 and 7-year-old boy. Obi-Wan made a joke to Anakin about how his family has grown so large. They have small talk for a bit, but then Anakin and Padme invite Obi-Wan to a private room to talk. Anakin tells Obi-Wan that he can sense it's serious, and Obi-Wan mentions that it is. He explains the state of the galaxy, the purge of the Jedi Order, and Palpatine's takeover as Emperor. He describes how the galaxy has been thrust into chaos under his oppressive rule, and people's freedoms have been heavily limited, but tells them that the Jedi have been fighting back alongside a resistance movement, but they need his help. Anakin and Padme look at each other, both thinking the same thing. They don't want Anakin to leave, but knows they couldn't live with themselves if Anakin didn't help defeat the Emperor and restore peace to the galaxy. One day, their children might venture off Naboo and into the wider galaxy, and wants to make it a place worth exploring. He hugs Padme and his kids goodbye, and tells them he won't be gone for long. They fly back to Rebel Command, and Obi-Wan can sense Anakin's connection to the Force has deepened. He asks him if he's been training, and Anakin tells him that he hasn't with a lightsaber, only kept up his skills to a good level, but mainly has been training on his connection to the Force and his Force abilities to deepen his connection with the midichlorians and the living Force. Obi-Wan can tell he has, and is excited for his help with the rebellion. Anakin leads his own squadron of rebels and fought in many battles and missions, helping to secure worlds and resources for the rebellion. Rumors of Anakin's return to the galaxy spread, even to Emperor Palpatine, who began putting measures in place. He fights with them for a year, and in this time, the Rebel Alliance has grown in strength. Obi-Wan's identity was revealed, but by this time, the movement was strong enough that Mandalore officially joined and backed the rebels, and openly fought against the Empire. One day, Anakin was leading a mission on Cato Neimoidia to acquire more hyperspace drives from an Imperial facility. He breaks into the main hangar and lays eyes on the equipment and orders his men to grab it when he senses something in the Force. Something cold. When he turns to see a hooded figure stink of the dark side, he ignites his lightsaber and goes to rush towards him, but the hooded figure lowers its hood to reveal Palpatine's face. He tells Anakin it's good to see him after all these years, but Anakin tells him to silence, that he knows what he is and will end everything he's done here and now. But Palpatine tells Anakin it won't be that simple, and he opens up a hollow recording showing his wife and the rest of his family in prison. Anakin's eyes go wide as he can't believe what he's watching. He looks at Palpatine in anger and yells at him to release them. Palpatine tells Anakin he will, but only under one condition, that he works for him now, to fight back against the rebels, and only when they are defeated will he give them back and he can return to living his pitiful life on Naboo. But if anyone other than him opens the cell in which they are being kept, or he presses the button on his wrist, they will be destroyed from the inside. Anakin doesn't know what to do. His brain's telling him to attack, but his heart says otherwise. He cares about his family more than anything, and will do whatever it takes to get them back. He gives in and tells Palpatine he will work for him and do anything he asks. Palpatine smirks and knows his victory is assured. He now sends Anakin on his own missions, tracking down rebels and stopping their missions before they can succeed. Anakin's turn to Palpatine's side was reported back to the rebel command, and Obi-Wan can't believe what's happened, who doesn't believe Anakin would join Palpatine. He thinks something must be up and travels to Naboo, to his home, to find Padme and her children gone, and in that moment, Obi-Wan realizes what has happened. Palpatine has kidnapped the Skywalker family. He brings this news back to the rebel leaders and tells them the only way they can win this war is with Palpatine's death, because they can get Anakin back. He doesn't believe it would be possible to save Padme and the kids, because if it was, Anakin would be doing this himself. He needs to track Palpatine's location and attack with them all together, and makes this the rebels' #1 priority. For the next couple of weeks, they have their lead spies and trackers on this mission, who track down Palpatine's movements all around the galaxy, but there's one common location, a small training facility on Megiddo. They conclude this must be one of Palpatine's secret training facilities, and decide to launch their attack when he's there. It took only a couple of days until Palpatine returned, and the Jedi pounced on this. Yoda, Kenobi, and Quinlan Vos went and broke into the base, into the main foyer, to find Anakin and Palpatine standing there. Obi-Wan locks eyes with Anakin, who quickly looked away in shame. He looks at Palpatine, who growls and tells Anakin to fight with him, or he will never see his family again. Anakin looks back at the Jedi and tells them he doesn't have any other choice. The five begin fighting, with Anakin taking on Obi-Wan, and Palpatine, Yoda, and Quinlan Vos. The fate of the galaxy depended on this duel, and they were all fighting like it. Palpatine implemented all of his dark side techniques that he's learned, and the Jedi stayed headstrong, not letting their emotions get in the way of their duty. Obi-Wan tells Anakin he can help him, but Anakin tells him it's no use, that he has to fight for Palpatine, otherwise his family dies. Obi-Wan says there must be another way, but Anakin tells Obi-Wan he's sorry. He trips over his old master to the floor and holds his blade above his head, but he hesitates and Obi-Wan rushes back out of the striking zone. Across the battlefield, Palpatine yells at Anakin that if he hesitates again, he won't hesitate to dispose of his family. Anakin feels like his head's going to explode, bursts with the conflict as he struggles to attack his old master. But he looks over at Obi-Wan, and behind him, he sees the rest of his family, Padme, Luke and Leia, and the rest of their children. He locks eyes with Luke, and the two can communicate to each other without speaking, and Luke tells him they heard the chaos and used the Force from inside the prison to escape, just like his father taught him. Anakin would later find out his children discovered how to escape the very first day they were there, but realized if they did, they would be hunted down and killed, or used against their father again. So they waited until the right time, the perfect distraction, when the Jedi attacked, to make the daring escape. It's genius, Anakin thinks. Palpatine was the only one who could open the door from the outside, but from the inside, anyone could open it. He was extremely proud of his son, and turns to rush at Palpatine and cuts his arm off. Obi-Wan joins, and the four Jedi advance on Palpatine. The Sith Lord uses every technique against multiple attackers, lightning, force drain, but none of it can stop the onslaught, as he falls to the blade of Anakin Skywalker, and gets revenge on the man who threatened his family. He rushes over to hug his family after a long year without them, and couldn't believe how big they had gotten in this time. He says goodbye to the Jedi for now, and takes his family back to Naboo, to their hut where they originated, but can now live in peace due to the fact that the Sith are gone, and no one will ever threaten their family again. He tells them the time might have come for them to learn to defend themselves, and plans a trip to Ilum for them to find their first Kyber crystals. On the other side of the galaxy, the rebels take over the Imperial Senate and announce the Emperor's defeat. They plan how to move on from here, and begin correcting the damage and horror the Empire has done to the galaxy, and arrest and hunt down the remaining high-ranking Imperial officers. But in this time, Mon Mothma will be voted in as Chancellor, and the Republic is reinstated. Obi-Wan and Satine decide that Mandalore will take a lead role in restoring the galaxy to what it once was, and sends their agents all around the galaxy to help foster peace and prosperity. But the war was finally over for them, over 10 long years of fighting, and they could finally return to their family life. As they forged a life together on Mandalore, their love blossomed into a family that would become a beacon of hope and unity. They welcomed many more children into their family, a daughter Selena, who inherited her father's wisdom and fiery spirit. Their next child, a mischievous son named Callan, took after their father's love for adventure, already ready for a challenge. They completed their family with a twin pair named Amara and Arak, and Obi-Wan and Anakin joked about how they both produced twins. Their household echoed with laughter and a profound sense of duty. Obi-Wan decided to embrace love rather than the stoic path of the Jedi, which brought immeasurable joy to his life. They met with the Skywalkers often so they could catch up and let their kids grow up together, and Obi-Wan had everything he'd ever wanted. If you enjoyed this video, you have to watch What If Anakin Fell in Love with Aayla Secura, or What If Anakin and Padme Fell in Love. Please check out our membership program to help support the channel. Like and subscribe and comment what you thought of the video. I love responding to you all, and may the Force be with you.